ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel. So now, unfortunately, we have some very disturbing news. It seems as if my guy Sean Hannity has been a very bad boy. I regret to inform you that he's been telling his audience one thing, and he's been saying a whole nother thing behind closed doors. What say you?
Look, I think the problem we have is that we fall back on thinking about this under the way that our sort of political societal structures existed before, which isn't the right one. Hannity's not a journalist. Fox is not a news outlet. Fox are propagandists. I mean, the history of how they're pretty clear. You can look at Germany, you can look at Hungary, you can look at Venezuela. It is a pattern here, and we have to just accept that the Republican Party is an authoritarian force. It has financiers and it has propagandists. And the propagandists are formed by Fox. It's that simple. It's that simple. So don't confuse it. He's not a Ron Brownstein here. I mean,
so Fox is an arm of the Republican Party. It's basically they use Fox. The Republican Party uses Fox News to push out their propaganda.
Yeah, he's not a White House staffer, but he's more important than 99% of the White House staffers. Yeah, he's not a White House staffer.
But he's more important than 99% of the White House staffers.
He's not a White House staffer, but he's more important than 99% of the White House staffers.
Ron, what did you want to say?
No, I agree. I mean, I think that it's not exactly an arm of the Republican Party in the sense that it has independent agency itself, but it is kind of a force in the conservative movement that isolates its viewers in kind of, an artificial world. And the success, the overwhelming numbers of Republicans who believe, despite no evidence, that Biden was elected only because of massive fraud. 3/4 in polling a year later after every court in the country laughed out the supposed evidence. I mean, it's testimony to how powerful this is. And it really does create kind of a nation within a nation and an enormous centrifugal pressure on Republican elected officials to avoid cooperating with a Democratic president on pretty much anything. It's not only a subservient kind of arm of the party. It drives kind of a conservative movement agenda to some extent on the party. But in either way, it is just an enormous force for polarization of American society.
Kirsten Powers is sitting here going, "Look, guys, I know you guys have sitting guys planning everything. I'm sure you work there. I'm sure you're sitting on the end. Look, I used to work there. I know what you mean on him having such a close relationship with the White House, with the administration, to be saying things like this. I mean, pretty much behind Trump's back, saying one thing on text messages behind Trump's back and another thing on television. Are you even at all like this? I mean, pretty much behind Trump's back, saying one thing on text messages behind Trump's back and another thing on television. Are you even at all surprised by this?
Pretty much behind Trump's back, saying one thing on text messages behind Trump's back and another thing on television. Are you even at all surprised by this?
Pretty much behind Trump's back, saying one thing on text messages behind Trump's back and another thing on television. Are you even at all surprised by this?
Talk to us.
Well, at this point, I'm not surprised.
Talk to us.
Well,
At this point, I'm not surprised. Talk to us.
well,
I mean, it's obviously a very different place than when I left there, I think 5 years ago. So I don't think that these kinds of things would have been so accepted. I don't even think anybody over there seems to even care about this. The language that he was using, even in these text messages, the we, right? Like they're all part of the same thing. They're not even pretending that there's any kind of distance between them. Now, Hannity has said before he doesn't consider himself a journalist. He's a talk show host. So I don't know how he's now playing a journalist, invoking the First Amendment, even though they're not going after sources and methods here. That's not really what's going on. This is not in any way, doesn't really have anything to do with him being a journalist or a talk show host, frankly. It has to do with what did you know leading up to January 6th, and it looks like you knew a lot. And that, even if he was a journalist, that wouldn't protect him in this situation, because it's not trying to reveal sources and methods or anything like that. It's just trying to understand, what did you know about what the president was expecting to happen, wanting to happen, and what he was thinking about it.
So you don't think this would have happened pre-Trump over at the Fox propaganda?
I have big memories of people getting in trouble. I think it even was Hannity of going to a campaign rally or something.
Well, he was on stage at a campaign rally. It called him up, and Sean Hannity went up on stage, and I think.
No, I mean, this is pre-Trump.
Pre-Trump, oh yeah, and also the judge. What's her
He
name?
got in trouble for it. Yeah. So I do think there is a difference. I will say also, the arm of the Republican Party, I actually think it works in the other direction. I think they have much more power over the Republican Party than the Republican Party has over them. So they drive everything that's happening. Even if we look at what's happening in terms of voter fraud, how supposedly Democrats stole the election. Well, that's been a story that Fox News has been pushing for as long as I can remember. So all of these seeds are planted in position.
Well, one more question. Do you think that, you remember the text messages came out before, I think it was Laura, what's her name? Laura Ingraham and Sean Hannity and others. There was a whole thing about text messages before. And then this. Have they been exposed as actors? Because they get some pearl clutching about what happens on the so-called liberal media, which is everything they consider liberal media, everybody other than them.
Have they been exposed as actors? Because they get some pearl clutching about what happens on the so-called liberal media, which is everything they consider liberal media, everybody other than them. Have they been exposed as actors? Because they get some pearl clutching about what happens on the so-called liberal media, which is everything they consider liberal media, everybody other than them.
Have they been exposed as actors? Because they get some pearl clutching about what happens on the so-called liberal media, which is everything they consider liberal media, everybody other than them. And then you have them actually trying to influence what happens at the White House. There's receipts of it. And then now they want them to come and talk about an investigation. Have they been exposed as the actors and the frauds that they are?
I guess there are people out there who believe that they're sort of on the up and up. That's really hard for me to believe, but I guess for those people who were believing that they were on the up and up, they've been exposed, though those people will probably never hear about it. That's the thing. They live in an alternate universe where all they know is what Sean Hannity tells them and what Laura Ingraham tells them. So that's the thing. They live in an alternate universe where all they know is what Sean Hannity tells them and what Laura Ingraham tells them.
That's the thing. They live in an alternate universe where all they know is what Sean Hannity tells them and what Laura Ingraham tells them. That's the thing. They live in an alternate universe where all they know is what Sean Hannity tells them and what Laura Ingraham tells them.
That's the thing. They live in an alternate universe where all they know is what Sean Hannity tells them and what Laura Ingraham tells them.
That's the thing. They live in an alternate universe where all they know is what Sean Hannity tells them and what Laura Ingraham tells them.
So, but yeah, I think that they've shown their willingness to do one thing behind the scenes and then turn around and go on TV and say something completely opposite to that if it's going to keep them in good stead with their viewers, and if it's going to please who, Donald Trump. If it's going to please who, Donald Trump. If it's going to please who, Donald Trump. If it's going to please who, Donald Trump.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button, and also don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Feel free to leave comments below. They are greatly appreciated.
I'm going to keep you guys over the break, and we'll talk about, because they will also want to talk to, the committee wants to talk to the former Vice President Mike Pence as well. So